I'm Michael. I'm an entrepreneur, small business owner, investor, improv artist, tempted stand-up comedian. I'm a wannabe actor, and as always, I'm very, very neurotic. And I'm your host and a TV host for what we call Second Scene Podcast. It is a Dweebs Global production. That is why we do this podcast. They give free mentorship help, anything from resume writing to mental health. They have it around the world, every language. It's completely free, completely confidential, literally free. dweebsglobal.org. So I'm here today with Flobo Boyce. Did I say your whole name correctly?
That is correct. And shout out to Dweebs Global, doing good things. I appreciate that.
They are. We love dweebs. We love dweebs. So Flobo was in corporate marketing for many years, but has now turned his attention to being the one getting attention. He does everything from comedy, DJing, hosting a wrestling podcast, event hosting, esports commentating. I think this just name a few, and they are quite the variety, I would say.
Yeah. I tell people that the brand is that I get to be myself, and that's a good thing to have because I've been in offices where you weren't yourself. So that's always good.
So are you a wrestler?
Oh no, you know what? That's the one thing I haven't done. So when I was a wrestling fan forever, but I got into like wrestling production and promotion. I was too heavy. I was like 375 pounds and like not like built. I was like a really unhealthy 375 because in wrestling you could be 375 and be a house and be like great, but I was really bad. So I got into commentary, I got into interviewing. Then when I lost the weight, I was well into my 30s and I was like, I'm not going to start you could, but I'm not going to start wrestling now. So I kind of kept myself on the other side of the camera.
Right. How'd you lose the weight getting into mostly what you like? You're sitting down a lot.
Oh yeah. You know what? I'm not sure about the branding situation on Second Scene, but the Subway diet. I lost 80 of my first 175 pounds on Subway club sandwiches from the sandwich shop.
Really? So it works.
It works. Yeah. I would say no mayo, skip the mayo, but it did work. And back then, I'm talking about 2009, 2010, there was a $5 foot long promotion. Now it's a foot long will sit you back like $12. So I don't recommend it. But back then I was like, I was in grad school. I wasn't cooking anyway. And so I would go 2 times a day, 6 days a week and get a Subway sub and eat those. And then when I said, hey, look, I guess your diet does matter on some level. Let me learn about nutrition. And it became a process thereafter. But I was like 375 at my heaviest, about 215 on a good day, 220 on a bad weekend.
Wow, I can't picture that.
I'll send photos. It'd be great.
Yeah. So I ate Subway almost every day, but I put a lot of Chipotle sauce.
Oh yeah. Well, no one goes to Subway for the taste. It's kind of like, well, it's there, and I know if I have a burger, I'm gonna feel bad. Let me get something that isn't nearly as good, and then you like put whatever you want on it. Like my sandwiches are swimming in vinegar, just because the meat's not great.
I understand. Well, what originally had you make the shift from corporate marketing to, really putting yourself out there and putting yourself in front of the camera and for audiences?
It's a good question, Mike. Can I call you Mike? I felt like I kind of overstepped that boundary. Like it's Michael, sir. No, during the corporate life. And so that was kind of a journey of working in entertainment, then moving into like test and measurement equipment rentals, and I sold hand sanitizer. That was my last day job. There was always a drive and desire on the side. I wanted to think about doing it. It'd be kind of cool if I wrote the book. It'd be kind of cool if I did stand up. It'd be kind of cool if I did this or the other thing. But what really got me to jump is that I was pushed. I worked for a company. I won't name them name because I had a bad experience with them, but they were a non-mortgage bank lender. I was in their HR department as far as talent manager. So my job was to make the company cool via marketing. So instead of saying, sign up to work at Facebook or Google, you would have the requisition for a job, and it was your job to make ads to target different segments. Single mom, join us. Veteran, join us, that sort of thing. I got let go on Thanksgiving Day, 2017. I was in Vegas. I was celebrating it because I'm not a fan of Thanksgiving, but my girlfriend at the time was, so we kind of compromised. So I'm living life. I'm having the robe. I'm getting chocolate sent up to my room. I go, I'm being paid well. I got this. And I got a call from accounts payable saying, hey, we want your address to confirm where to disperse your 401k. And I'm like, why would you disperse that? They're like, oh, sorry, call you back. And so
really,
I was fired. And so it was November. Companies don't really hire in December. Right. I'm freaking out because I'm in a hotel in an expensive city, thinking I had the money guaranteed on next payday that the pay didn't exist. And all I had in the back of my closet was an old DJ controller that I did when I was doing my side job. And so that weekend, I just stripped my website, which was supposed to be a blog at the time, and said, DJ Flobo open for business to catch engagement season during the holidays. And that was a last grasp effort in 2017 just to make ends meet. And so it became an empire, quote unquote, because the job is still going and I got some awards for it. But there really was a time, I would say a year and a half after making that decision, where it was scary. When you were in a house going, how am I going to provide for myself and my significant other at the time? So yeah, I was pushed. I landed, sort of. I kind of tumbled down the hill. It's not smooth, but I'm still alive, you know.
Right. Well, I mean, to make it in the entertainment industry in any way whatsoever is amazing. I mean, it takes a lot of grind and a lot of trust in yourself.
Yeah.
Selling yourself.
Yeah. And self-doubt never goes away.
No. I was talking about somebody else. We never feel like we grow up, right? It's never.
No, never. I don't know why that is, because my dad at my age now had a house, wife, 2 kids, like struck a mustache, like a structure. And I'm just going like, man, do I want to have ramen twice today? Nah. Gotta get a vegetable somewhere.
Do you think he felt like he was growing up then? Or do you think he still felt like he was faking his way through?
I asked him this question about a year ago, and of course he's like, "Oh, I knew what I was doing. I came to this country with $500 in my pocket." But I think now, no, everyone deals in struggles and stuff, you know.
Yeah.
But I do think, I don't have kids of my own, but if someone goes, "Dad, I'm hungry," you gotta find a way to make it work, right? So I think we all deal with it. I think all of us struggle, and it's okay to ask for help, no matter what that help is. You know, even if you do it pretty well, second set of eyes can't hurt. You know, that's why I like programs like at Dweebs Global, because you can totally like, hey, I need help or whatever. But no, I asked him that once. He looked at me like I had 2 heads. It was like, it was fine.
Yeah. I mean, I have 2 kids. I have a family and everything. I don't feel like I'm growing up. Like that's not what made me feel like I'm growing up. It put more responsibility on me. I feel like I have more responsibility. I have to like do it, not just for me, but I'm still feeling like I'm faking my way through. I feel like maybe.
The only thing is, sorry to cut you off, but the only thing I think is that we can tap into nostalgia anytime. We can like look at cartoons from YouTube and not and go, you remember when I was a kid, and then reminisce and go back to our jobs, you know. But other than that, you're right.
That's true. I wonder, it's probably also a generation thing where our fathers had to be braver. Our fathers had to appear stronger or not look weak in any sort of way, where I think our generation, it's okay a little bit, and the next generation is going to be even more okay.
Yeah, emotions are right.
Yeah, we can speak more of the truth of who we are and how we feel with a lot of it. Yeah.
Crossing fingers, hopefully it doesn't change. Because sometimes it's like a pendulum, right? There might be a counterculture movement. It's like, forget feelings and just go back to.
It's true. So what did you first? So you first got into DJing. I guess that was already a hobby of yours because you had it in your trunk. So this wasn't.
Yeah.
Nowhere had you already been performing DJing? You already had the confidence to get out there and.
So in the timeline of entertainment, DJing is really 2015, 2016. I think comedy came first because I became a DJ when I went to a DJ company, which is called a multi-op. Basically, if you try to get married, there's really 2 kinds of DJs. There's single ops, which are like a guy who's like, I'm a DJ, or small companies. And there's like DJ farms, where you go to like Fun Time DJs Incorporated, you give them lower money and they give you a guy that shows up day of. So I work for one of those. But I went as an MC because I did comedy before, because DJing is such a technical craft. A lot of DJs don't want to talk. So I went there and I was like, I do stand up. And if you want to talk about that, I'd gotten to stand up due to a near death experience. But when I was doing these gigs, I had an event where the DJ didn't show up and I was just the MC with no music. I went back to the company. I was like, you gotta teach me something, because the wedding was still ruined. Even though I showed up, the wedding was kind of over with. Wow. So they taught me very basic, like left channel, right channel, start, stop, and I was off to the races. And worked for them for 2 years, got to my own business, took classes, saw YouTube videos, YouTube University. So that's kind of like what it led to. So if it wasn't for comedy, I wouldn't have been an MC. If it wasn't an MC, I wouldn't be a DJ.
Oh wow! Okay, so you started out with so comedy was even before the DJing.
Yeah, it was a near-death experience. So we talked about me being heavy about a minute ago. So I had lost the weight, 175 pounds naturally. I didn't do any lap bands or anything like that, but I had excess skin. that was impacting like my workouts. I couldn't jump, for example, because it was like I had like I just had skin, lots of skin. And so I had the skin removed the day after Christmas, 2013. And which is called the fleur-de-lis amnioplasty. But I have an incision that goes from my breastbone to my pelvic line, and then another line that goes from my hip to hip. So it's like an inverted T. They basically cut you up, fillet you, and put you back together.
Wow.
3 days later, I a 4-inch gash on my right side. My suture line had reopened, and it wasn't a suture in that it was stitched. It was like a glue, because that is like surgical glue that can like stitch your things together. So it had reopened up, and I was bleeding out on my couch.
Wow.
And so I called the doctor, my plastic surgeon, which sounds so cool to say. Yeah, I'll call a plastic surgeon, bada boom. And I was like,
you're really LA now.
Yeah, exactly. I've made it. I'm an Angelino. So my guy tells me, he says, so he goes, I go, hey, I'm bleeding out. My mom is here, but we can't hold it in. What should we do? And he goes, sorry, can't help you. Because of the kind of incision, it would be a non-sterile site. So he said either you have to compress it yourself or take yourself to the emergency room and they could compress it for you. But I just had ab surgery, so I wasn't able to move around a lot. And the gash had become so big, 4 inches long and about 2 inches wide on my side, just letting go, that I was like, I have to stay here. And the cool thing, or the funny thing about almost dying, is that you get scared and nervous until there's a point where you go, hey, you know what? I get it. This is how I go.
Wow.
And there's a bunch of small regrets. I wish I did this. I wish I invested in Bitcoin. I wish I had more dates. But there's 2 big regrets I had for some reason.
By the way, I have those all the time anyway. Near-death experience.
But I had 2 random regrets, and it was one, I never learned how to ride a motorcycle. Which I eventually did. I have to get back onto it too. And as I never tried comedy. I was a fan of Tonight Show. I'm a big late night show nerd. I have the books on it. I'm a big Leno guy. People aren't, but I am. I never tried comedy. And I said, if I survive the night, why not? And so I basically put all the weight on my wound. And since I had ab surgery, I couldn't go on my stomach. And I couldn't go on my left side, on my right side. So I was basically on one cheek overnight. Woke up, the site had congealed, like, thankfully. I mean, it's still huge. And so we end up sealed together. But I said, like Ian Fleming says, you only live twice, once when you're born and once when you stare death in the face. And I said, I survived it. This is your new lease on life. You could have died last night. You got to find a way to do these 2 things that somehow randomly pop into your head when you're about to die. So I took a comedy class. I know a lot of OG comics don't like saying that, but I took a comedy class. And after 6 months, my first class was at the Comedy Store, which is a famous building here in LA. So my first time performing comedy was 3 minutes, but it was at the Comedy Store. Felt the vibe of what it means to be a comic and make people laugh over drinks in a dark room. And I was off to the races. So August 10th, 2014 is a comedy anniversary. I celebrate every year, but comedy or committing to doing something I really want to do really opened me up for everything I do today.
Wow. Well, yes, stepping on the stage is a scary thing to do the first couple times.
Don't know how you do it. You're improv. That's a whole different thing. Like I lift weights on stage. You do CrossFit. That is just, you're an inspiration, man.
I'm not good at it.
But you do it.
I make people come watch me and torture them for the 15 minutes that I'm doing it for. Yeah, I always tell you the best thing about improv, the best thing it did for me was failure, like learning how to fail. And get through with it. Like that made me okay with doing almost anything else.
Yeah, you can't turn the audience. You can't be like, well, picking this was a bad suggestion. I don't know how that works. Short form.
It's always the audience's fault. What are you talking about? It's fun. I highly recommend it, by the way. Improv, I talk about it all the time. Highly recommend it. I tried stand-up and I loved it. Oh my God, that was the best. I think the best night on stage for me ever was the one night I did stand-up, or I did it, I guess 3 times now, but it takes so much time. Like improv, we just go to our improv. I have a troupe and we meet once a week and we freaking play like we're 5 years old on a playground for a half an hour and then perform once a month. Stand up, you have to work on that all the time. Like it's integrated a part of your life, right? Like that's
It is and it isn't. And don't undersell improv work. I see the warm-ups. I see the bad raps and claps. Those are pretty cool too. Don't be like, oh, we just show up and we just hang out. No, it is a lot of work, and it's very easy when I won't say you're a working comedian. That sounds like you're getting paid. It's very easy when you're doing the open mics and small shows, the bar shows. You get paid like $20 a night or a handshake or a drink ticket to get discouraged because you are going to these places where you have material. You don't know it's funny because if it's funny, or if you don't know it's funny because no one is paying attention to you because they're at a bar on their first date and you're doing jokes in the backgrounds. And there's comics that like collect open mic sites. I did 6 shows today, and like, well, I went to one thing 2 weeks ago. Am I still valid? Kind of a thing. But that comes down to the faith in self, right? Like if you know that you have a story, you have a perspective to tell, you'll find a way to make that happen. And it's funny you mentioned that question to me now, not to like lord over everybody. I'm in pretty much a low point of my career. We're coming out of the pandemic. I'm a little slower to embrace the it never happened vibe. I still wear masks when I'm online for things, for example. And comedy clubs are basically built to keep you inside, right? So I'll go to a show. I have performed, but not at the clip I was doing before, touching the same mic 9 times a day. And it's very easy to me to go, am I there? Am I relevant? Is the show still for me? Is comedy still for me? I think I'm funny. I can still go. And that's been kind of the conversation I have. And so for anyone that wants to do stand-up, I always say, don't treat it like an art or a science. It's a sport, right? There's days you don't feel like training, you have to train. There's days when you are telling your jokes all wrong, but you crush and you're like, well, that was a gutsy win there, John. There's times you play very well and you get booed off stage. And that's kind of the learn from your losses thing. And so it is kind of a dedication, but that thing more or less than becoming a seamstress or becoming a coder or becoming an improv star is just a commitment to the bit.
Yeah, it's wild how a different audience can react so differently to the same exact material. It's that's wild. That's hard for anyone to understand that until they're in their position.
Absolutely. Even in the same town. I live in Los Angeles, and jokes that hit in Hollywood don't hit in Burbank because of the demographics of how it's made up.
Yeah. But it's a lot of work even in between. Like in between your shows, you have to constantly be writing. You have to constantly be refining. It's there's a lot of dedication that goes into that.
Yeah, one of my favorite comedy heroes of all time, Weird Al Yankovic, stopped making albums. Not because he didn't have ideas. It was just that with TikTok and YouTube, you have to come up with really, really obscure takes to protect the uniqueness of your work, because you could do parodies all the time. When that song, I'm kind of dating myself, but 10 years ago, there was a song by Pitbull called Timber. It's going down. I'm going Timber, with Kesha. And if you search Timber parody, you will see pages of people with the same idea and the same concept. So it is harder to come up with different angles and stuff. And now comedians are now clipping out their material on TikTok, which is great for them. I'm not knocking that. But then you run the risk of saying, if a fan going, hey, look, that comedian said something similar, you're biting jokes. You're like, oh, I'm not a joke stealer. I didn't mean to. And then you got to reevaluate and say, is this person famous enough for us to have a similar take? No, he's too famous. Cut it out. And that's kind of a thing too. So like there is challenges with that when it comes to the work involved. But I think that what makes it fun for me is that when I have people in the room in the moment, so the hard work of putting your name on flyers and buying Facebook ads and all that stuff, we have people in the room in the moment, you could alleviate their pain for the day or the time of the set you're on, then it's all worth it. So yes, I hate having to go up and be like, please come to my show, send, or I hate trying to go to open mics and knowing no one cares. But you have that show and everyone goes, oh my gosh, you really cheered me up, then it's worth it.
Oh, it feels so good. It feels so good. Yeah, I was thinking the other day, there's like cover bands for musicians. Why couldn't one of us be a cover comic?
I don't know why rock is okay, but comedy and hip hop you can't do it.
Oh, you're the devil at that point. It's,
right.
It's terrible. It's the worst thing you can do.
I'm up in the club, bottle full of bub. It's not.
But what if I announced myself? What if I had the whole poster? What if the whole thing was I'm a cover comic and I did tributes to like the famous, a little Jim Carrey, a little.
That's just hilarious. Just go around touring a bus, just like imitating everyone's.
A little carrot head, get a carrot top, and I know that. Well, that's you should get back out there, and you should forget about COVID at this point. That's my advice to you.
Yeah, for real. Everyone's
Yeah.
looking at me like, what are you doing?
Yeah, we all gotta. It's there for good. So try to ignore it at this point. How did you get into video game commentary?
Oh, so management to COVID. Here's a guy who has these perspectives on the world, and in 2020, you were told you're not essential, right? So stay inside. And that happens as to everyone, but for me, it was split in my career because I got into podcasting because of the pandemic. I'm going to tell jokes, there's no one around, but definitely esports was kind of the other branch of that. So there's a game I play. It's called Rocket League. It's basically cars playing soccer. You know, you have a little car with a little rocket boost and you try to put a ball into a net.
Very fun game. Yeah.
Oh, fantastic. I'm terrible at it though.
Yeah.
And actually I joined a senior Facebook group. My seniors, I mean, video game players over the age of 30, if you can believe that.
Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, even I'm 48 and my fingers don't move as fast as my 12-year-old son. It's
Oh
not...
yeah, for real. It's true. Decline is real. They had a tournament in April of 2020, so right in the peak pandemic, and I asked if they do like any kind of commentary. So at first, commentary for me, I thought was like telling jokes, like, "Hey, move over, Grandpa. Time for your nap. It's time for prunes or whatever." And afterwards, someone said, "Hey, look, your voice is pretty cool. You ever tried casting?" And I was like a movie, like I don't know, like an acting cast. And it goes, "No, it's short for shout casting. It's kind of like what John Madden does." Rest in peace, but for these games. And I go, I'll give it a shot. I'm going nowhere. That's what I'm doing. And that kind of opened the door because I'm older and because my influences are from real sports. I come in with more of a psychological element to a game because I can't really tell you, or I'm not interested in telling you what buttons this guy pressed to make that move happen. I go, oh my gosh, this goal is an equalizer with 2 seconds to go in the end of the regulation. Can you imagine the feeling he must be feeling? And a lot of times people forget that and they go, oh my gosh, you're great. You're amazing. And that kind of opened the door for me to do these other events, just being able to share a love for a game I played when things were bleak for me professionally or personally. When I wanted to escape, I played this game. But to be able to share it through my insight with that has just been so much fun. I'm able to slip in jokes and slip in new material because I have that audience I was telling you about, right? Again,
Right.
if I'm people watching this game, a lot of casuals who don't know what the hell was going on. I slip in a joke, they crack up. I go, okay, that works, So that was one of the cool byproducts of being locked inside.
That's really fascinating. It's neat the way you go about the video game commentating, because people would think it's just kind of almost technical, but it's not. It's just like any other sport. So why not remind people that? Why not? There's a person behind it. Well, people usually just see what's moving on the screen. So it's
absolutely. And just for context, though, I'm in my mid to late 30s, right? So I'm from a time where video games were played if you did your chores. You get an hour a week or maybe 2 hours during Thanksgiving. And so the kid generation past me, I guess Generation Z now, Gen Z, I don't know what they call them. Post millennials people, that's like a legit career path. And so you'll be in this booth with me. I think I'm playing with house money. You know what I mean? With some kid who's trying really hard, young adult trying really hard to make this a career. And so they can focus on things like technical moves, and you can be the fun guy who's a little bit loose to help out the show. And I think that's what's cool about entertainment is that you play a role and you can get your solo time in as like music solos, but at the end of the day, you're making a production of why this match matters or why people care. And people go, oh my gosh, I felt a certain way with these different personality types. So to me, that helped me sharpen my iron because sometimes you go out to these comedy shows. I went to Alaska this year in April, and they appreciate more of the dark humor, but they'll have late night dark humor. So like you can be suggestive as you want, just don't say explicitly what's going on. And they love it. They love that being able to make that leap themselves. Whereas if you're in deep Hollywood, they want that tag. They want you to say the word. They want you to say the actual graphic description. Not in a bad way. It's just that's kind of the way that is. But I got that skill sharpened when you're telling funny jokes to, at the same time, 12-year-old kids and their 30-year-old parents watching their 12-year-old kids play, and you'll know what works and what doesn't.
right. You have to be super observant. You really it sounds like you are. It sounds like you pick up a lot of the nuances that most people wouldn't be picking up on.
It kind of comes back in a feedback loop because reading the crowd came from DJing, right? Because hey, this song's a banger. but they ain't dancing. What do you do? And you gotta find, it's like a puzzle in the time. That's why you pay for a DJ. Sometimes I go, I'm rambling now, but with couples, they go, oh, we're thinking about having a Spotify playlist. I'm like, it could be the best dang playlist on the planet. If no one's feeling it at the time, it's going to be background music like The Gap or Abercrombie, you know what I mean? So you need someone to see and go, oh, wait, they like that beat drop, but it was Latin. Let me try some more Latin music in the mix. Oh, okay, now what? Let me see, I can go from here to the 80s. And that's what you're really paying for when you have someone, a human algorithm at these events. And it's the same thing I pull from my comedy or even esports. If that kind of humor isn't working and they want more serious stuff, my co-caster is so nervous they won't even respond to a joke of mine. Let me find a way to adjust to make sure I'm still me, but the show itself gets to be as strong as it can be.
Right. Have you had, I mean, with comedy, we've all had it where the audience doesn't laugh. Have you had a DJing experience where you just couldn't get them off their feet? It was just
all the time. That is all the time. So sometimes it's not out of your hands. Sometimes there's couples that are like, oh, we don't want to keep them bored, so we'll have shuffleboard and we'll have bags, a cornhole, and we'll have a face painting station. And I go, that's all great, but if I'm out in the sun in my dress clothes and I see these things set up, I'm going to treat it like it's a bar and hang out and drink, right? And so when you say now it's time to dance, it's like, what do I do? And I also say the last thing you want to do, as someone who's been a guest to many weddings, because I met that my friend's marrying age, is that you don't want that DJ who's like, everybody dance now, jump, where is everybody? Like, you don't want to do that either. And so there's sometimes you can find and unlock what works for them. Now, what's funny for us is that most people getting married are their late 20s to early 40s. So the disco of our time is 90s hip hop. Like everyone gets on the dance floor. When I go, it's hot and it's hot and because everyone knows that song.
right.
But even when I first started, it was all disco, all things like that. But reading the crowd is super important. And there's some events like Bombing on Stage where you give them everything, but when the night's over, you pack up going, I am a hack. I don't know why they even booked me. I'm going to quit and open a deli in Queens. And there's some events where you say, here's some songs. And they're like, oh, DJ, you crushed it. And you go, I am a fraud. I don't know why they booked it. I'm going to open this deli in Queens, you know, and it's kind of entertainment. It's that way, you know?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get out there for my improv. People will laugh, and I'm like, I didn't even mean for that to be like. I'm still not even sure why they thought that was funny.
Stop laughing! I'm terrible.
It's weird with comedy like that, though. Sometimes you'll write a whole joke, and they'll laugh at the part that wasn't even meant to be the joke.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things. That's the thing I lose. So people always ask me, what's the things that you have to work on? If you're doing all these comedy things, you should be perfect at it. And I go, the first thing that goes in any kind of simulated environment, being at home, the podcast, is timing. Stand-up comedy timing is very unique to the art form. And so when I was in my bag, as the kids say, when someone would do that, I would stop and dwell on the part they laughed at before even getting to my punchline to really make the audience part of the experience. But when you're at home for 6 months to a year and you go back, you're so used to set up punchline. You have to train yourself to have moments, because otherwise it would throw you off. Like, hey, don't laugh at that part. That part's a serious part. I'm getting to the funny part. You know what I mean? And so you don't want to do that either. And so it's a good thing you mentioned that, because it does happen.
Yeah, and it's hard. You're in a rhythm, but your audience is in a rhythm. And if those rhythms collide, even if it's because they're laughing, which is a good thing, it's hard to get back on that rhythm. It's hard to hard to try to back. Yeah. So out of all of these, what's your favorite venue? What's your favorite venue to perform in? What's your favorite out of all of these different talents? What's your favorite thing to be doing?
Venue to perform in for every one of those are obviously different. Because I do more weddings and events. Here's a place for the DJ stuff. There's a place in LA called the Bel Air Bay Club. And I always said if I ever got married, I would get married there. Only because I hate sand. I live in LA and I hate sand. Okay. So if I invite my family from the West Coast, I want to be able to have a venue that looks at the beach, but it's far away from the beach. That looks fancy, but not too fancy. You know what I mean? That's what I'll do it.
You know, it's funny. I'm sorry. I'm with you with sand. I love water. Like I love going in the ocean.
Oh, yeah.
I like finding like coves where it's rocks you walk on to get in and not freaking sand where you're.
It gets everywhere, like in between the toes, inside that you know when you like buy like swim trunks, it gives you like little like nether region basket that gets in there, like it's everywhere.
And it comes home with you. You don't leave it behind.
That's what I'm saying. So someone's like, go to the beach. I'm like, are we renting a car and we're going to a hotel afterwards? Because otherwise,
Totally.
as a comedian, there's a goal of mine. My favorite venue I've ever performed in was definitely it was a small bar in Toronto, but that was the first time I ever did comedy internationally or outside of LA at the time. So the corner in Toronto was a really big thing for me. But being from Brooklyn, there's a place they restored in Flatbush, which is the neighborhood outside my neighborhood, called King's Theater. And I'll love to be able to perform there just because of what it means to me. You know, Brooklyn was my third parent. It raised me. I still have a auto anti-theft device club for my car. And I've been driving 20 years because I'm from Brooklyn. You don't understand. And so it'd be kind of cool to bring that full circle.
I had a 89 Honda Prelude back in the day. And
yeah,
one day the window was broken, the whole key was jacked, and there was a note on the steering wheel from the police that they caught the guy in the process. And I should
dang.
That was New York.
Oh man, it does make you think differently. And people always ask, because I live in LA, are you an Angelino? And I go, no, I never felt I was. I've been here 15 years, you know. But lastly, the video game stuff, there's things called LANs that's like them live. So like you do either these tournaments virtually or you go to an event and they like have an arena and there's like a professional computers and people play the games in real space. Those are called LANs. I would love to do one for Rocket League, professional, like the main circuit, RLCS. The world championships were in Dallas the last summer. So to be able to go up that ranks, to be chosen for that would be kind of cool. So for either expression of what I'm working on, I have goals when it comes to that.
Okay. Is there any one of these that you'd like to be doing the most of?
I always say that I'm comedy first. Right now, immediately, I get more work and exposure doing the esports stuff. You know, I've been doing comedy for 8 years. I've been a DJ for 7. I've been DJing under my own banner for 5. But as someone who's been doing video game commentary for a year and a half, that was the first time I was recognized in public. Yeah. The first time someone's like, "Oh my gosh, you're Novanta." I'm like, "Yes, I am. Can I have an autograph and a photo?" And I was like, "Are you going to sell it?" Like what that never happened with everything else. I'm not chasing the fame necessarily, but right now that's kind of like the sign from above or the universe or your mama to say, hey, you know, keep going. It's very easy to stop this and work at Enterprise Rent-A-Car if you want to, because you have the ability, because you have the marketing background, but keep working on entertainment. But ideally though, I'm always comedy first. So I would love to be able to go on tour, or I would love to have my own late night variety show. That's always been the dream. Yeah. Even though late night TV is constricting because they're canceling people and people don't watch late night TV anymore, and there's YouTube clips and stuff like that. But to be able to have it, my friends call it Flobito tonight, will be like the dream. So anywhere it needs to do to get to that level, I would love, and I would try to move heaven and earth to do so. So 2 comedy albums in the bag now, they're available now, but I'm working on comedy album 3 to make sure, almost like a professor, that my work is current. I can keep going forward.
Got you. Well, awesome. Well, thank you again. Thank you for being here. This has been tons of fun, and now I want to get back out there more. So you're super funny. So I definitely want to check out your comedy. And
you got the tag team. If you have an improv show, I'll be there. Private jet, and by private I mean like JetBlue. But
I'm in Washington D.C.
Oh, cool! It's even better.
You'll have a private seat.
Yeah, exactly. The seat is all mine. I'll definitely see you live.
So people can find you at flobito.com, FLOBITO.com. Any other websites or anything else you want me to mention right here?
So one of the cool things about being on this is that I'm ahead of my own podcast network. Learn more about my podcast and all the shows under that at newamsterdam.com. That's KNEW. Amsterdam.com. And I saw some stories today on this podcast about my surgery and starting my business. I go more detail about that in my memoir, Graduation Day, available on Amazon. So if you want to know stories about how I lost the weight, if you want to know stories about how I went to Italy to save my DJ business and I got lost in Fiore, check it out. Graduation Day, available now on Amazon.
Okay, and we will post the links below. This will be on YouTube and all the other podcast networks. So I will post the links. So check out the links, click on them. Go check them out. Again, thank you so much. And this has been a Dweebs Global production. They give free mentorship help, everything from resume writing to mental health. Again, free, completely confidential. And they literally have people around the world, every language, every place. So need any type of help, please reach out right away. dweebsglobal.org.